I gave up carbs, including sugar, for 30 days. In fact, I've given it up for a lot more than 30 days. But this video is about my 30-day challenge, and it wasn't at all what I expected. I'm going to talk about how I gave it all up and what I ate instead. I'm also going to talk about the withdrawal symptoms, the changes I experienced, and then we'll end up with some practical advice if you want to embark on a similar journey. And we'll talk about what to do, for example, when you're eating out. And in fact, let's start with that. What would you do when eating out if you've given up all carbs, including sugar? And by that I mean processed foods as well. And I suppose it's particularly difficult in things like Italian restaurants or Chinese, and it can be a bit difficult. I looked for chicken-based meals or protein-based meals, so chicken Milanese, for example, and having it with salad rather than with pasta or chips, and generally replacing any carb-heavy sides like potatoes or rice or pasta with salads or other vegetables. If I was having a burger in a restaurant, I'd just have the meat patty and the various bits around it, but not the bun. But I'd say that desserts were pretty tricky, and I didn't eat or don't eat desserts in restaurants really. I generally just finish off with a coffee, but make up for it with perhaps a bigger starter. And if you do all that, then you can have a substantial meal that's very enjoyable. So the first thing you might wonder when embarking on a journey without carbs or sugar is what you might eat instead. So I excluded, obviously, rice, pasta, potato, refined sugar, pre-processed meals like lasagna you might buy, or obviously I excluded all bread, all pastries. And so what you're left with is meat, dairy, including cheese, lots of vegetables, salads, nuts, and dark chocolate. And obviously fruit, although not fruit juice. And by focusing on meat and fish and vegetables, and actually preparing some of my own meals really for the first time, it's easy to have substantial meals that fill you up and that avoid all those carbs and sugar. And how did I do it? Well, I didn't slowly reduce the amount of carbs or sugar I ate or cut out different ones at different times. I just said to myself, no more carbs, no more sugar, no more refined foods, that's it. And from that day until now, which is about 6 months later, I haven't eaten any. Now you might say that's really difficult. I don't know how you could do that. But actually, in the scheme of things, it wasn't very difficult at all. It's not like building a habit where you are having to do something every day. The habit is not doing something. Now, you do have to replace it with other things because you get hungry and you're used to having snacks and so on. And I suppose in the first few days, probably the first week, it was slightly more difficult because your body really tries to trick you. There were times when I was reaching for cereal or reaching for crisps, and it was only just before I opened the pack that I realized what I was doing. Seriously, I hadn't thought about it until that moment, and then realized what I was doing and put them back. But instead, what I did was eat a handful of nuts, a little bit of dark chocolate, had a drink of coffee or tea or whatever, and that got me through that patch. But I actually found that by stopping eating these carbs, the cravings, the feeling that I was hungry started to disappear, and I was snacking less and less. I also found that when I woke up in the morning, I wasn't needing to eat straight away because I was really hungry. And that, extending the time before you start to eat in the morning, can really help with intermittent fasting. 30 days without carbs isn't just a diet change. Actually, it's a transformation not just for your body, but for your mind. Physically, I lost half a stone in the first 30 days. I've lost another stone in the next 6 weeks, but I wasn't really doing it to lose weight. Mentally, as I've sort of referred to, I found that I was craving food a lot less, that I wasn't hungry between meals as much. I didn't have that desperate urge to eat, which really has helped me. I also feel a bit more focused mentally. And in terms of advice and tips, so the first thing I would say is be really clear on what you're doing. I was crystal clear of what I was cutting out. There was no ambiguity that I was cutting out all carbs, all refined sugar, all processed meals. And that actually makes it really easy to decide what you can and can't eat. And from there, I made sure that I had plenty of other food available to satisfy that urge for something chocolatey. And the other thing that you really need to do, because you're building a habit here, is to be kind to yourself and to realize that it's not all or nothing. So set the boundaries, and then if you slip up, just say to yourself, okay, stop and move on, and just realize that that's just one thing and you're gonna do better next time, and you will. And if the majority of the time you stay off these things, then it will improve your health just as it's improved mine. The other really important thing is to not see it as something that leads immediately to weight loss. Don't think to yourself, if I don't achieve, £1 a week or £2 a week or £3 or whatever it is, then I failed. See it as an experiment. See it as an experiment simply in not eating these things. And that's the way I looked at it, because at the start, weight loss associated with it comes in at weird times. You might find that initially you lose a little bit of weight, then you stop losing weight for a week, and then you might start again, or your weight might even go up at some points. Don't worry about any of that. Just say to yourself, all I'm doing is a 30-day experiment in cutting out carbs and sugar. I'm not worried about the results. I'm not worried about whether I lose weight or not. All I'm going to do is focus on what I can control, which is not eating carbs and sugar. I found that incredibly important, because without it, if I'd focused on the results, if I'd focused on whether I was losing weight, I would have stopped almost immediately. And then if I had continued to that point, I would have stopped a number of other times. So don't focus on the results, focus on what you can control, which is not eating those things. So if you choose to give up carbs, sugar, refined foods, then really good luck, and I'll see you on the next video.